God's Word. Today, April 13th. We've got 1 Samuel 14, 1 Chronicles 4, and 2 Corinthians 13. We're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 14 today. And we hear about Jonathan. And Jonathan is the son of King Saul. And he's an interesting character because he's going to quickly realize that he's not ever going to become king. In fact, he's going to end up being friends with David, who will be king, and he knows it. And there's no animosity there. There's nothing weird about it. He wasn't a chip off the old block, which is interesting. So, and because there's such a contrast here in this chapter between Jonathan and Saul, it's sad that the father could so quickly, so easily turn from following the Lord and kind of being wise in the things of God. And then his son, thankfully, he's not really following in his footsteps. So it's an interesting kind of contrast picture here in chapter 14. And what I love about this chapter is the heart of Jonathan. And so he begins by going over with his armor bearer. Let's go over to the Philistine garrison on the other side. But it says, but he did not tell his father. So he's going to go without anybody knowing. So verse 6. Jonathan said to the young man who carried his armor, "Come, let us go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for nothing can hinder the work of the Lord from saving by many or by few." And his armor bearer said to him, "Do all that is in your heart. Do as you wish. Behold, I am with you, heart and soul." It may be that the Lord will work for us. God can work by many or by few. There's a belief that, one, God is going to work. He just doesn't know what it's going to look like. As he goes in for a closer look, he's open to the idea that maybe God's way is going to be different than what everybody else expects or thinks. It's a great way to go about life. Sometimes we just don't know. But it may be that God's going to do this or that. And so start taking steps of faith. Because what if God comes through? Yeah, but what if he doesn't? And that, so often that fear holds us back. I think, like Jonathan, you're going to get confirmation. You're going to get a verse. You're going to get a word from the Lord. You're going to understand, no, this is the Lord. I can move forward. And the opposite of that then is Saul, who makes this vow that no one should eat. But tells us about Jonathan dipping in the honeycomb and how his eyes became bright. Like, he got energy. And the people was like, "Hey, you're in trouble." He's like, "No, that's a bad idea." And so here's how it all resolves itself. Verse 43. Saul said to Jonathan, "Tell me what you have done." Jonathan told him, "I tasted a little honey with the tip of the staff that was in my hand. Here I am, I will die." And Saul said, "God do so to me, and more also. You shall surely die, Jonathan." And the people said to Saul, "Shall Jonathan die who has worked this great salvation in Israel? For far from it. As the Lord lives, there shall not one hair of his head fall to the ground, for he has worked with God this day." So the people ransomed Jonathan so that he did not die. People are like, that's a bad idea. He just did this great thing with the Lord. The Lord was working through him. This is a bad plan. It's a chapter to kind of think about. It's not about disobedience to the father. He didn't know about the edict. He didn't know about the ban about not eating. His focus was just simply moving forward and just seeing if God's in this, what can happen. And I think that's the heart that we need to have. God, if you're in, and then fill in the blank, help me to see and know that's the direction I'm supposed to go. That's what I'm supposed to say. That's what I'm supposed to do for someone, or whatever the situation. Don't operate out of fear. Operate out of faith. Till next time, keep growing little by little.